Well, I think they're important on two levels. First, they recognize accomplishment for heritage preservation, new books, craftsmanship, things like that. But they also do something else. They showcase ongoing projects that haven't finished yet. Think of the Visitor Centre Fort York, think of the first Parliament building site of Upper Canada. These are things that Heritage Toronto got behind, awarded, and got a lot of publicity. And that affected council votes and got approvals that might not have come quite so easily, and moved things ahead. And so we're all very grateful for that aspect of it, as well as the others.
Toronto and the promotion of Toronto is important, but for a writer, you're trying to get your ideas out there, and you want to reach your public, the readers. And the best way to do that is publishing a book and then getting that book promoted, and the awards are really helpful in reaching your audience, and that's what we want.
Well, I'm old. No, oh, sorry. As you get older. No, I was interested in heritage when I was a kid, because my parents were interested in heritage, they were interested in history, they were walkers, they were interested in natural history, the schools I went to, all of the people that made some impact on me had an understanding that life didn't begin when you were born, that life began far before that, and there was a rich world that you could be part of if you wanted to join it.
We have many ways of sharing the Jewish history and all of the holidays and life cycle that go with it. And I think that we have many different groups that come to the museum, and they learn so much from it. It's a wonderful learning experience, and I have to say I learn every day also. It's not just the people that come to visit. It's a great learning experience for me, and every object has a story to tell. And that's very special.
My curiosity leads me to look at the heritage of Toronto. Heritage doesn't just mean old buildings. It doesn't have to be buildings, and it doesn't have to be old. It has to do with the community. Well, heritage is what we've all been left with. It's our responsibility. It's our collective inheritance, and you know, it's from the First Nations before Ontario through the various waves of settlers. The beautiful thing about Toronto is that it's constantly renewing itself.
The Heritage Toronto Awards are amongst the most prestigious in Canada. Toronto desperately needs this opportunity to highlight its heritage preserved as opposed to heritage demolished.
I'm very active in all kinds of artistic, cultural, and heritage issues and projects because I feel it is important for me to be involved with the community in which I live in, and to help contribute in a very active way to make a much richer social fabric in which we live in.
History, understanding where you come from, understanding your connection to a country, all of that stuff is really important, and it's only through someone sort of preserving buildings or going back and finding some of these old stories or understanding where or why things were built and how. Those are things that are fundamental to us really appreciating the life we have.
What motivates me to be interested in Heritage Toronto is the idea of discovery and learning more of the stories of the people and the places that make Toronto an interesting place.
Heritage of Toronto is who we are, and we cannot ignore who we are. And if we're going to move forward, it is important that we preserve who we are. It doesn't matter our differences. What matters is us knowing about each other, respecting each other, and working together for a better Toronto, for a better Canada.
Well, I think the Heritage Toronto Awards are important, I guess mostly for the general public who may not have had opportunity to learn about Toronto's history, and the Heritage Awards are a great place, actually the best place to start. I mean, it's not just ancient history where you can just read about in like a dusty old book, but something where you can touch and feel, whether it's a restored building, or reading about, or watching a documentary, or even surfing on an interactive website about Toronto's history. So it's like the best place to start.
Well, I think the Heritage Toronto Awards are very important because, as you can see, there are a lot of people dedicated to preserving the history of Toronto. You can see it in our buildings, you can see it on our books, in our bookshelves, and you can see it in films and everywhere around us. Yet, the people behind those stories and that dedication, you don't really know who they are, and this gives them an opportunity to stand up and say, here I am, and this is the work that I've done, and this is Toronto.
What motivates me is just an intense curiosity about the city, what has shaped it over the years, and how the past informs the present, and how sometimes we keep making the same mistakes, or what we learn from past blunders or past triumphs.